So we have here some more games here for the NFL Part 2. So here we are. So this one is the New Orleans Saints and the Falcons. The Falcons clinched the division for the Carolina Panthers. The winner of this game, whoever won between the New Orleans Saints and the Carolina Panthers or the Falcons, since the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they won on Saturday, and mainly it was the Atlanta Falcons winning on Week 17 Monday night. It was the December 28th game between the Los Angeles Rams and the Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons won that one, so it didn't make Carolina and Tampa Bay a winner-take-all game. It did not. It would have made a winner-take-all if Los Angeles Rams lost, but it did not make it a winner-take-all game. So, but the winner of this, but since Tampa Bay won also, it made the winner of this game a winner. One would clinch the division, or the Saints one would clinch the division for Tampa Bay. If Atlanta won, it would clinch the division for Carolina. And Atlanta won, clinch the division for Carolina. And it was 1917. Both teams at the highest scoring. Both teams, really just wanted to end their seasons out well. You could see why. Get some positive momentum going the off season. Atlanta really has some positive momentum though going the off season. I would say pretty well, because especially Kirk Cousins at quarterback. Not the best teams he played, but he did get some solid wins when he was playing though, and Michael Penix Jr. So I wouldn't be surprised though if some team ends up picking up Kirk Cousins. I don't think Kirk Cousins would, it would want to sign him for the deal that he had though. That's like the only problem, is the amount of money he got. Is he worth that anymore? I mean, I don't know though. But I mean, good on him for getting his money though. But it's a really good game though. Or for Kirk's really good end of the season. Winning some teams, they even think they would beat. The other show, 23 of 35, 250 yards, a touchdown interception. Estime, 21 for 60 runs, 63 yards. Johnson, 3 catches, 60 yards. Drake London, 4 catches for 70 yards, a touchdown. Bijan Robinson only had 15 runs, but only had 33 yards. So they really stopped him. They tried to run. You obviously don't want to eliminate the running game totally. You still want to have the running game be part of your offense. But when you just can't get nothing going with it, you obviously don't want to force the running game, but you don't want to just eliminate it completely. Kirk Cousins 18 for 32, 30 yards, a touchdown interception. And then Taylor Show did take 4 sacks. He also had 3 runs at 34 yards. Hall had 2 runs for 11 yards. Pettis had 5 catches, 60 yards. Estime had 5 catches, 40 yards. Austin Drew, 4 catches, 30 yards. Taysom Hill, 3 catches, 30 yards. 2 catches, 20 yards for Arbel. Tor had a catch for 3 yards. And then for the Falcons, Cousins took 4 sacks. Tyler Jarrett, 7 catches, 7 runs, 16 yards. Kirk Cousins had 3 runs, no yards, lost some yards and some yards. Maybe it was the Neil Young's that lost some yards. And that counts a running play. Or does. Could put 6 catches, 50 yards. Mooney, 3 catches, 3 yards. Sosa, 1 catch, 3 yards. Robinson, 3 catches, 2 yards. Ajita, 1 catch for 3 yards. So now let's go to the step. Let's go back. So Kirk Cousins to Drake London for 15 yards. The first score is Zane Gonzalez. That part was good. Then Zane gets a 4-yard field in the second quarter. And then Taylor Schultz scrambled right for a yard, and Smith score was good. And there's a defense outside on on the kick up on the field goal. It was deep enough. It was like where they have to re-kick anyways, so they just end up keeping the field goal. And then there's a Smith 20-yard field goal, and then 30-yard field goal in the fourth. Start in the 10:43 in the fourth, and 2:32 in the fourth. There's another 30-yard field goal, and that wins the game. And for the and then there was a touchdown. Taylor showed deep pass up to Arbel for 6 yards, and the Smith extra. So it's 19-17. And we have now the Green Bay Packers. They fell to Minnesota Vikings. Comfortable. I don't blame them. And but the Packers were on rest reserves, but the Vikings, it was kind of like, it doesn't matter who you play. Can you even though you play the backups, kind of the scheme is kind of going out year for these players like Jefferson. Like kind of also one of those things for the Vikings where like you want to get Jefferson 1,000 yards. We let him get his sixth straight season of 1,000 yards, pass of 1,000 receiving yards for his career. Be one of only 3 players in NFL history to have at least 1,000 yards in 6 straight seasons. And then this was C.J. Ham's final game as a Minnesota Vikings player. He's been there for 10 seasons. In Minnesota for 10 seasons, and he wanted to retire because, he's got a little son, like that's really young, like 1-2, couple years old, not more than probably a couple years old. I would say maybe 2-3 at the most. Not very old. So. He's old enough where he can walk and stuff, so I'd maybe say 2-3, but but still. I wouldn't say walk well, but maybe walk if he's holding on or someone's hand, When you're a little kid, it's hard, But yeah. But I see why he wants to retire. He wants to spend time with his family. His family and all that. And he wants to be there for his son. Which I totally respect, And then Harrison Smith. Was this Harrison Smith's last ever game as an NFL player? You don't know. There's speculation that it could be Harrison Smith's last game. Although there's speculation that there could be. You don't know though. There's signs do point. There's signs that he wants to retire at the end of the season. But you don't know though that if he wants to retire or not. I mean, isn't one of those things where, like, oh hey, basically he just does whatever he wants during the off season. I mean, he still keeps in like somewhat shape, obviously not out of shape completely, but not like full on like NFL training resume. But does he stay in, and then maybe like because he's obviously not going to play in preseason at all, so does he like, hey, we have our preseason players, our practice squad, everyone else sign, and we have say like $5 million to sign. We have $5 million left on that we can give to you this season for, this season. You want to come back and play, basically practice maybe once, like maybe do like play like practice like once maybe twice a week at most. Like out of like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We might have like 1-2 practices a week. You get to go out there and play. You have your own freedom to do what you want in the defensive end because you're a veteran and in the league 14 seasons. Have the freedom to just do what you want on defense. And yeah, that's basically what he's getting. And then maybe you have like the weekly, maybe a Monday meeting with the team, or like your like this team as a whole, or like your position groups like defense with like Brian Flores, offense with the offensive coordinators, or maybe in the head coach. Like on both sides, or and like the coordinators on like the coaches on the defensive side for the position groups. So you have all them. Maybe our team meeting. When watching the film. And yeah, it was kind of cool. It was cool to see what was going on. It was just cool, because it's cool, it was kind of like it would be kind of just to see Harrison Smith's last scheme, knowing that could be his last scheme, and then knowing that for sure was CJ Ham's last scheme. That was cool though that they gave let CJ Ham run the ball in for a touchdown on his last ever game. Did all they could to get CJ Ham the ball in the end zone. That was cool. I really like that from O'Connell. I really did. That was a class act. O'Connell, class act move out, Kevin O'Connell. I also really like that. So. But this game, was definitely it was definitely a game for the Packers that didn't mean a whole lot, but with Clayton Tune as Minnesota, as Green Bay Packers starting quarterback, the third string practice squad quarterback. Didn't mean a whole lot, but you still want it if you're like the backup, if you're like the third string, like the second strings, third strings, everyone playing in this game. You still want to go out and show it because, hey, you can get great film, like especially going into especially for this like the starters playing. Yeah, they're not going to be like doing like the film room for like the this, but all the backups and stuff like that they're playing in this game. Like, hey, can you go in? It looks good on your resume. Like, can you show some improvement? Like show some stuff like for you as a player, like for you to stay at like the Packers. Like, hey, your practice squad players say, hey, can you like did you do enough to stay on the Green Bay Packers practice squad? Or if you didn't, like, or can you like to move to maybe another team's practice squad, or is a team like you enough to be like their backup, say, their backup wide receivers or backup quarterback, like practice squad quarterback, like Clayton, or maybe not Clayton Tune practice squad quarterback, but like like, or like a backup like lineman, or so whatever backup position, for Pacific, what I'm saying, kind of like that. So, but this game, Clayton Tune, and then McCarthy, JJ McCarthy, he came in with a hand injury on his thrown hand. He could see him hit the helmet of the New York Giants player in that game. He hit it, and then he was out for the Detroit Lions game on like Christmas Day, and then he was out for that game, and then he went, and then, but if he could grip the ball, he was going to be in as long as he gripped the ball, and he did, and he wanted to do that because, and they wanted him out there. They wanted the reason why they wanted JJ McCarthy out there as long as he gripped the ball was to get some reps in, no matter who you play, I mean, it might be like preseason type reps, or against like preseason players, but like players that might play more in the preseason, like second strings, don't get a lot of play time. But still, you need them. You want the reps, and and like Vikings coaches, Vikings players, they all know that, and it's us, fans, player, all that, and it's all cool, I like that, and it's cool, to see Jefferson gets 1,000 yards in his career, first sixth straight season. His and then it's cool to see CJ Ham get his last touchdown as a National Football League member. As a fullback, especially as a fullback, hard. Fullbacks in the NFL, they don't get respect. Like, they really don't in the NFL. Like, like it's hard to make it as a fullback in the NFL. There's hardly any. Not a lot of teams have fullbacks in the NFL. So, see like CJ Ham making it on a team for 10 years. Like, he's made it to Pro Bowl a couple of times as a fullback. I mean, you have Kyle Juszczyk for the 49ers. He's a fullback, and he's made to like the Pro Bowl. And every time, pretty much, almost like 8 times, pretty much almost every time that CJ Ham hasn't made a Pro Bowl. But yeah, it's not bad though. I really respect. It's kind of it's a respect, from him. I like that, And then but yeah, Clayton Tune was 6 of 11, 34 yards. Yeah, he wasn't asked to do much on the game. And then we had Brooks, 13 carries, 60 yards. Kenny James, 2 catches, 15 yards. And then JJ McCarthy, before he had to come out. He played the whole first half. Played well. In the first quarter, yeah, he was starting to get. In the second quarter, he gained some rhythm. And gained some really good rhythm in that second quarter. But then it was going to take in the third quarter. But then that first play, threw a good pass to Jefferson. A nice passage out there. And then he just ended up calling out of the game. Because his pain tolerance was about like 8.5, was roughly about 8.5 out of 10. So that's pretty significant, And even if you're trying to grip something, when your hand is really sore, no matter what you're trying to grip, it's hard, So. But he did check himself out, so that was a smart, thing to do. Check yourself out, like, hey, go over to like the coaches and be like, oh yeah, hey, my hand's like really swollen. I can't. It's hard for me gripped the ball in the last play. And then Jordan Mason, 14 catches, 14 runs, 84 yards. Justin Jefferson, 8 catches, 101 yards. No passing touchdowns. And then Screen Toon took 4 sacks. Eric Wilson, 18 catches runs for efforts. Lane Toon 4 runs, 23 yards. And then you had Golden 1 for 8, Wilson 1 for 4, Wild 1 for 4, Dabney 1 for 4 or 3. And then Max Brosmer came in, did well. 7 of 8, 57 yards, 2 sacks. I mean, he's not the best. Yes. I mean, you don't expect a ton from an undrafted free agent quarterback, but he did well for what he had to do. Ty Chandler, 10 runs, 20 yards. Scott 3 for 9. Xavier Scott McCarthy 2 for 7. Justin Jefferson, a run for 3 yards. A running play for 3 yards. CJ Ham, a 1-yard touchdown run. That was, like I said, that was cool to see from Kevin O'Connell, from Class Act to Kevin O'Connell. I thought Ty Chandler on the 3-yard run, near the when he was on the 4-yard line. I thought he'd get in. And I was like, this would actually be a good chance for CJ Ham if he gets on 2 or the 1. For him to just pound it in. They say pound in, but grind it in. I guess I don't know what you want to say, run it in, a more big term. I guess so. But but he did. He's able to. Chad Chandler didn't get in. They got him at the 1.5, and he could run in. And then Jalen Naylor 3 for 8. Josh Albert 2 for 9. Sims 1 for 18. Ted Chandler 1 for 3 for 11. Here's Chet 1 for 9. Xavier Scott 1 for 8. Jordan Addison 1 for 6. CJ 1 for 6. That found no catches. He was out there. So that was it was the pack. And then we had Will Reichard 43-yard field goal attempt is good, 3-0. Reichard 25-yard field goal attempt to second quarter. And then CJ Hammer shipped out for a yard. That was 13-0. And then Reichard 37-yard field goal in the fourth quarter, 16-0. And then in the fourth quarter, kind of I don't know, was it the best move from, that Matt LaFleur didn't, even though he's playing those backups, he didn't want to be shut out. So we ended up taking a time off late in the last play of the game, and right before the last play of the game, and then kicked the field goal, 20-yard field goal attempt. Maybe he saw that some sports books, maybe the betting odds, maybe he was trying to screw people that are betting on this game, screw them over or something. I don't know, because some of them had the Vikings 13.5 point favorites. The one I seen had it they literally had it a 12.5 point odds. It was kind of or it's basically, you're not getting a shout today. You think you're getting a shout, but you're not going to get it. You're not going to get the satisfaction that you get a shout. Even against that type of practice squad or backups. So let me ask for the 24-yard field goal. So 30. So the Minnesota Vikings get that win. A nice win, even though it's against the practice, the Packers, not the main players for the Packers, the second stringers and backups. Still a nice consolation prize win, to get, and especially in and especially building momentum, a 5-game stretch to end the year out with 5 straight wins. 5 straight wins for the Minnesota Vikings. No matter who you play, the Washington Commanders, the Dallas Cowboys, the New York Giants, and the Detroit Lions, and the Green Bay Packers, rest of their pastors. But you get 5 wins to end the year. That's a solid like list, you know. Like not the best teams, but still good competitive games. Good solid like games from start to finish, you know. You know, for the most part. So and now in 2026 season, you should 2026-27 season. Now the Vikings should be able to be a lot more competitive. You know, they got games that are more like, you know, that might not like they might be having like teams like they play like the third place team in each in the divisions, like the AFC South, the what is it the NFC West and the NFC East, and then they play like the NFC South. Every team in the NFC South, I believe. So, but it is what it. I mean, so I mean, you know, they got games that are more favorable, but still, I mean, you know, you got game. They're not gonna be like the most maybe blowout games, blowouts, but they might be closer, you know. But still, I mean, you can win them if you can win them, you know. I mean, that's nothing to you know, I mean, scoff about or basically say like, oh, that's not good, you know. You know. So the Jacksonville Jaguars, they blew out the Tennessee Titans 41-7. And I can see why the NFL didn't or Fox didn't put this as their featured game. Yeah, they probably still would have, even though you know, because Jacksonville was fighting for the division with Houston. If they lost to Tennessee, and then Houston won, you know, Houston would clinch the division, but they didn't. But Allen, 17 of 30, 70 yards a touchdown. Cam Ward did get injured in that game, so he had to come out with that injury. Trevor Lawrence, 22 of 30, touchdown. That kind of hurts for Cam Ward because he could have gotten in the offseason injury free, and then later once, you know, after a little break, you know, they have come back and like practice out and train some more, and could have came back like really like strong, you know, not strong, but I guess you know what I mean, like better, you know, worked on stuff and tried to become better quarterback, you know, more work on stuff more, and then maybe in the preseason, you know, could play like a couple. You could play some like the first quarter of the game in preseason and work things out, you know, and then like in the games, you know, you could have like more of a leap in the second season. You know, maybe going from like 3 wins to like maybe 5-6 wins, just slowly improve season over season. You know, maybe go from like 3 wins to say like 5 wins or 6 wins. You know, like slowly increase like the win total every year. You know, and maybe after like 3-4 seasons, you know, you have like a team that could compete for like the playoffs in a tough like AFC South division. You know, especially if the Jaguars are healthy, like Trevor Lawrence plays well. You know, he can add like their team can be a solid. And I remember that when people don't remember that the Jaguars, like last season, they think of the last season Jaguars team, but some people don't remember that the Jaguars weren't actually like AFC, like an AFC championship team, like I can't remember, it was a little bit ago, but they did go to the AFC championship game. You know, that was like just wow, you know, going to the AFC championship game. Nobody remember. I don't think people remember that, but I do. But this game, The Jaguars was all over the Titans, 41-7. So he had Tony Pollard, 14 runs, 4 yards. Anna Moyer, 3 catches, 50 yards. Pete Washington, 5 catches, 18 yards, touchdown. And then Travis Etienne Jr., 14 runs, 32 yards. Trey Lance, 22-30, 250 yards, 3 touchdowns, like I said. And then Cam Ward, he only put through 3 passes, but he threw 52 yards. That was the thing. He looked really good in the beginning, but then he just had to sub himself out. So like the first quarter, he got hurt. Then J.J. Spears 3 for 18 yards. Cam Ward 2 for 11 yards. And then Duke Dyke 3 for 27. Pollard 3 for 70. Mark Robinson 1 for 14. J.J. Spears 7 for 9. Archer 1 for Chris Okonkwo 2 for 2. And then Nick Mullins even came in as the backup quarterback. 2 for 2, 16 yards. Nick Mullins, he's been a Vikings backup for a while. They ended up getting rid of him though, trading him to Jacksonville. Or he was a free agent. He signed with Jacksonville. I know he's been pretty much like a career backup, playing mainly in like blowouts in like the regular season or playing in like preseason. You're doing enough to say, hey, you're a good solid backup, but you're not like a starter. Then Ton 5 for 23. Trevor Lawrence 2 for 11. Nick Mullins. Take Neil down, so he might have like a couple yards a lot, but rushing loss. Then Strange 5-6 for 52. Ryan Thomas Jr. 44. Gomiers 5 for 44. Johnny Munt 1 for 16. Ron 1 for 8. Travis Etienne Jr. 1 for 6. Morris 1 for 5. Patrick 1 for 4. So, and then in Cam Ward rushed right in for Sanders touchdown. Then Trevor Lawrence to P. Washington for 23 yards. That'd be Strange for 7 yards to left. And then beyond intercepted pass to 42 yard line. Camelo was good. And then Camelo and then Trevor Lawrence to Morris for 5 yards. And then Camelo with the second longest field goal attempt in NFL history. He had the first one, a 68-yarder, but that was indoors. This one was his longest outdoor field goal attempt ever in an outdoor stadium, like with no like dome, in a stadium with no dome, or with the dome, even if there was some with like retractable roofs. That one there was a dome. It was in a dome stadium, and the dome was closed, so it was indoors. And then came up 50-yard field goal attempt at the third, and beat on rush right and for 5 yards. Rush right for 5 yards. So it was a dominant game for the Jacksonville Jaguars. No real surprise there. And then the New York Giants, they kind of dominated this one over the Dallas Cowboys. Early on, Dallas had it, and then later in the game, the Giants dominated more later in that one, and just dominated. You could see that. And the Giants win 34-17, and now it gives the Las Vegas Raiders, with that win, it gave the Las Vegas Raiders the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 draft. It gives them. And then Millen the third, 7 for 13, 70 yards, interception. 22, 32, 20 yards, 2 touchdowns. Blue 16 runs, 64 yards, touchdown. Jr. 18 runs, 100 yards. Robert Flournoy, 5 catches, 6 yards. Oh, it was 8 catches, 100 yards. Prescott did come out of the game. He must have had injury or something like that. He must have had injury in that game. Either that or they put him in the first half. In the second half, they played Jamal in the third. He had an interception. And then Corporation, Corporation, 2 total, 2.2 for 1%, for Scott 1 for -1.
Cody?
What?
You gotta go to bed.
Yeah, well, as soon as I can save my thing. And then for 30. And then we had one for 12. Map 2 run, pick and double 9, price 1 5, left 4, lane 1 for 4. And then for Giants, Jackson 2 touchdowns, 4 sacks, and like Olszewski came in for no yards. And then Tracy 18 for he threw a quick back pass as a receiver. So it was a trick play. And then 5 for 40, 32. Sing Devin, 39 for 26. And then Thomas Tracy Jr. 56. 2 for 34. So not bad in the first quarter. It was all field goals. The 44 for mostly 4 for Bezos, 24 ran RB, 3 for Bezos. And Blue Rush on 14 ran RB, was good. And then Bezos with a 23-yard field goal, and then Jackson to Bellinger for 28 yards. Then Jackson to Tracy for 13 yards, and there was unnecessary roughness penalty. So it would have been half the distance to the goal, since there was not enough to give. I know it would have been at first down, but not enough to give. Not enough. Obviously you can't score a touchdown on this roughness, or not enough to use the whole 15 yards. It was like 60 yards. So instead of 15 yards, to put on the 1. The whole penalty yards could be enforced. And obviously there's no reason to decline the penalty. No reason to decline it if you scored a touchdown on this roughness. And then 2-point conversion to they're down, so they went for the 2 points for the conversion. So you see they make a 14-point game. And then they passed to Jerry Sling, was good for 2 point. And Ralph Rush rated guard for 2 yards in the start of the first play of the fourth. And we saw his first 30 yards. And then that really put away Devin Singletary's left guard rush for 6 yards. And that saw his extra point was good. And that put it away 34-17 for the New Giants. So we'll talk about 4 more games from that's it for the early window. And Saturday games in the part 1. They had 2 early games in part 1. There's no Thursday night game. And there's no Monday night game. So, but ESPN gets, in the last week of the season, they get 2 games. They get with the second down screw. ESPN's second down screw went to Carolina and Tampa Bay. And then ESPN just kept Chris Fuller. Yanofsky, and then basically the second out screw, and then the number 1 out screw was just Drake and Joe Buck. They went, and then Lisa Salters and the Rutledge. They went to, and then Pedro Schrader from NFL Network. He's over with ESPN now. And they went to Arizona, and then went to that game. And then And I did 2 early window games in the first part. And I did all remaining 4 early window games in the second part because there's 2. There was 4 early window games. There were 3 early window games each network, so it's 6. Then there's 7 late window games. There's 7 early window games for the NFL for weeks 18. 3 of them were on Fox. 4 were on CBS. And this week CBS got the better one. Got the extra game, even though it was just two AFC teams, the Chiefs and the Raiders. It was a game that meant nothing for playoffs, meant really nothing, other than like Travis Kelce's final game possibly with the Kansas City Chiefs, and then the final game in the legendary coaching career for Pete Carroll. It was possibly Pete Carroll's final game as a head coach ever in the NFL because he would get fired, and he did get fired after this season. Chiefs figured he would have got let go, and then there was 3 other games. There's the big one, the number 1 seed game, or the one team playing for the number 1 seed, the Chargers and the Broncos. I mean, you could have had a rematch too. That game 2 weeks in a row. But the Chargers did not want to do that, have that game played 2 weeks in a row. With their starters. Even if they played for starters, it could have been that same game 2 weeks in a row. Well, maybe if the Chargers were locked in the 7 seed regardless, but they could. Maybe they weren't though. But if they could have just played that, and then they would, then they made the Broncos lose, and that would have been the same matchup. The Chargers at the Broncos, and that would have been in Denver. That same matchup would have been in Denver 2 weeks in a row. One in the regular season and one in the wild card. So it would have been like either 6 days apart. Or probably on that Sunday. It probably would have been on Sunday, though, not Saturday, though. Unless it was like Saturday night. Which, so. That would have been. I wouldn't be surprised. It would have been 6 games or 6 days in a row. Or 2 weeks in a row. Actually a week apart. Between the 2 games. Which is, And then maybe Denver win, maybe Chargers win the first one, Denver wins the second one. And you don't want, they already have the advantage. But, with the backups in, it's kind of hard to get like a read, on what they were doing, especially if they play in the playoffs. It's kind of hard to read. Denver wanted to play their starters because they wanted the number 1 seed in the bye. And obviously, if the Chargers are going to wild card anyways. And you feel like you can beat, you're not getting ahead of the Texans because they beat the Chargers. So you're really only the 6th seed. And then the Bills are probably not going to lose to if they don't rest their starters. Even if they rest their starters, they're not losing to the Jets. And they absolutely had to put Josh Allen. They would in the best version because it was like a low scoring game, and they didn't. They wanted to assault the game away. Maybe you say, hey, it's like let's say it's 7-0 with like 5 minutes with like start the 4th quarter. Maybe you put Josh Allen and go up 2 scores. Put the Stars go up 2 scores late early in the 4th quarter, and then maybe the Bills would win that one. Guarantee the Bills win. But they didn't have to do it. They dominated. So, yeah, I'll talk about them. The rest, four of the 7 late window games on Sunday afternoon on the 4:25 Eastern though, and then I'll talk about the remaining 3 late window games and the Sunday night game for the AFC North title in Part 4, which will be the last 3 late afternoon Sunday games, and then the Ravens, about the Ravens at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Sunday Night Football to decide the AFC North title, and the 4 seed in the NFC. And the top 4 seeds are the 4 teams that win the division. They put the premium in winning the division, so you get a home game. But it should be where, if the NFL wants the divisions, wants the divisions to have a premium, like win the division, you're in the playoffs. Okay, sure, you can have that, but make it so that the top 7 teams, the 7 teams in the playoffs, the 4 division winners, and the 3 wildcard teams, they can actually be seeded on based on overall record, and we have to have the 4 division teams in the playoffs, but the division champ, the NFC South champion, could be the 7th seed, and the Pittsburgh Steelers Baltimore Ravens winner, and that would be the 7th seed. So in both conferences. So the Packers were 9-7, the Panthers were 9-9. Normally that might not happen, but in the AFC North, it was like that, and that was so yeah. So yeah.